But remember, we've made history in cities. We've built dreams in cities. And we've changed lives in cities. And we've always done it together.
Thousands of people have taken to the streets of towns and cities, peaceful demonstrations in cities and towns.
Test, test, test. I'm speaking. Okay, thank you, thank you.
Millions of mayors are joining forces in cities all over the world, working together with the best minds of our generation. Basically, they're future-proofing our cities, the building blocks of humanity. It's in our nature to build. Let's build climate-resilient cities together.
Excellencies, distinguished, I request you to take your seats. Excellencies, may I kindly request you to take your seats so that we can begin. Thank you. Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished delegates and colleagues. May I kindly request that you take your respective seats so that we may begin. Kindly take your seats. My name is Cecilia Kinuthia Jenga. I am the Director of Intergovernmental Support and Collective Progress at the UNFCCC, and I will be your moderator this morning. I warmly welcome you to the third ministerial meeting on urbanization and climate change as part of COP29. This event is a cornerstone of our shared ambition to advance multisectoral and multi-level climate action with a focus on urban resilience, health, and sustainability. On the announcement of Azerbaijan as the host of COP29, I was led to the work of the renowned Azerbaijani poet Nizami Ganjai, who is also one of the most influential figures in Azerbaijani literature. His work dates back to the 12th century and continues to keep the readers captivated with his lyrical beauty, vivid imagery, and profound wisdom. Nizami's poems often deal with universal issues such as love, passion, faith, and morality, leaving an indelible mark on Azerbaijani literature and beyond. In his book of life, Every Page Has Two Sides, he writes, and I quote, "We human beings feel the upper side of our plans, hopes, and wishes, but Providence writes on the other side, and what it ordains is seldom our goal." I would like to link this to the issue of multilateralism. And in multilateralism, as we gather here in Baku, we are seeing multiple countries coming together to address global issues, each with their own agendas, their own hopes, with their own plans. However, the outcomes of this collaboration are often shaped by a complex interplay of various factors, including unforeseen events and influences. And just as the quote suggests, that Providence writes on the other side of our plans. And in multilateralism, the final results are sometimes different from what any single country might have envisioned. And this highlights the importance of flexibility, cooperation, and the willingness to adapt to changing circumstances and international relations. I would like now to move on to the opening speakers. We have quite a number of distinguished speakers this morning. The first part will constitute opening remarks by some key speakers. It's now my privilege and honor to invite Mr. Anar Guliev, the chairman of the State Committee of Urban Planning and Architecture of the Republic of Azerbaijan, to share with us Baku's role as host for WOOF 13 and the World Environment Day 2026. Mr. Guliev, you have the floor.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to speak to you today at this critical moment for global urban development and climate action as we open the third ministerial meeting on urbanization and climate change at COP29. On behalf of the government of Azerbaijan and on behalf of its member state Committee on Urban Planning and Architecture, I'm honored to welcome you all in Baku. I would like to begin by extending my heartfelt gratitude to UN Habitat. By creating this platform, UN Habitat has provided us with invaluable opportunity to engage in open, constructive dialogue and collaboration on one of the most pressing issues of our time, the intersection of urbanization and climate change. For the Republic of Azerbaijan, this event holds particular significance as we recognize the critical role of cities in shaping both our future and the future of our planet. As one of the fastest growing regions in terms of urbanization, Azerbaijan is deeply committed to addressing the challenges and seizing the opportunities that come with this rapid urban growth. By bringing together all parties and stakeholders at COP29 demonstrates the vision for the future where multi-level and multi-sectoral stakeholders act together to address the climate challenges and transform urban spaces into resilient ecosystems. Here we must also recognize and commend the significant initiatives that have laid the foundation for today's discussions. Search, launched by the inaugural COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, and CHAMP at COP28 in Dubai have already made tremendous contributions by creating spaces for dialogue and fostering cooperation in addressing key urbanization challenges. Today we proudly launched the MAP, Multisectoral Actions Pathways for Resilient and Healthy Cities, an initiative that integrates lessons learned from previous initiatives while adding an important new dimension. We express our gratitude to all parties and constituencies for unanimous support and endorsement of the MAP initiative and for providing valuable inputs to the MAP declaration through the process of its evolvement. All comments and amendments have been integrated. I'm glad to underline that MAP declaration, which first ever brings healthy cities topic into climate agenda, addresses multisectoral holistic urban approach and encourages synergy between urban and climate processes. MAP emphasized the need for a sectoral approach, bringing together efforts across multiple sectors and levels of governance. On nature and health, it promotes healthy equity and fostering nature-positive urban developments, as well as calls for strengthening urban climate resilience. It promotes innovative technologies to reduce pollution and ensure efficiency of all resources. MAP also calls for policies and frameworks to encourage sustainable construction practices. Recognizing that the sustainable transport systems are essential to reducing emissions and improving mobility, MAP encourages stakeholders for enhancing the human-centered transportation systems. To achieve these goals, MAP calls for stronger partnership among UN agencies and intergovernmental organizations, multi-development banks, philanthropic organizations, and other stakeholders for stronger actions, coordination of the resource mobilization for cities. MAP also emphasized building linkages between World Urban Forums, COPs, World Environment Days, and other relevant global and regional platforms for dialogue, actions, and initiatives. It encouraged the WUF host governments to appoint a special envoy for urban climate action. Azerbaijan will proudly host coming WUF 13 in 2026, and we will be happy to establish the first ever institution of the Special Envoy for Urban Climate Action and take practical actions that our commitments generate tangible results. In this regard, I'm particularly honored to emphasize the establishment of the Baku Continuity Coalition. We are thankful to our colleagues in this group, to Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Brazil, and UN Habitat, who are the important players for the urbanization and climate legacy. By signing for establishment of the Baku Continuity Coalition, we are sending a powerful message that the future of our cities will be shaped by collaboration, innovation, and a deep commitment. We invite all parties to benefit from the multisectoral holistic urban approach of the MAP in order to turn it into detailed action plans, both at the national and local levels, that we could combine our efforts for the tangible climate actions. I believe through future-oriented and nature-positive urban planning, policies and collaboration, our efforts will generate significant outcomes for the sake of our resilient and healthy future. I'm sure we are about to start very productive urbanization day ahead. Looking forward for exciting discussions on the parallel high-level roundtables following this session, and wish each of you enjoy your stay in Azerbaijan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Guliev, and also reminding us that collaboration between countries, national and subnational governments is critical to bridge the gap between climate commitments and scaling up action and implementation in cities and regions to deliver on the Paris Agreement goal. I now invite Ms. Anna Claudia Rosbach, the Executive Director, UN Habitat, to speak about the importance of multi-level climate action to achieve global climate goals. Ms. Rosbach, you have the floor.
Thank you, Cecilia. Mr. Mukhtar Babayev, Minister of Ecology and Natural Resources of the Republic of Azerbaijan, COP29 President, Mr. Tomas Taraba, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Environment of Slovakia, Mr. Anar Golizhev, Chairman of the State Committee on Urban Planning and Architecture, SKUPA of Azerbaijan, Mr. Rafael Ruzainov, Deputy Speaker of the Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Ms. Inger Anderson, Executive Director of the United Nations Environmental Programme, Mr. Selwyn Hart, Special Advisor to the Secretary General on Climate Action and Assistant Secretary General for the Climate Action Team, Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Mayors and Governors, distinguished delegates, all protocols observed, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are very proud of this third edition of the Ministerial Meeting on Urbanization and Climate Change. We all know about the critical importance of cities for our future, where more than half of the world's population live, and with 2.4 billion more to come in the next 20+ years. They need to be sheltered and taken care of. Unplanned urban sprawl is a threat to biodiversity, to the environment, to food security. It generates social fragmentation and fiscal deterioration. Buildings, housing and construction are responsible for up to 40% of greenhouse emissions. Yet, we have large infrastructure gaps to cover, as we have 1 billion people living in informal settlements, and we need to build 96,000 houses a day to achieve our sustainable development goals. Yet, cities are extremely vulnerable to climate change, with 70% of urban areas feeling its impact, temperatures up to 10 degrees higher than rural regions, 90% along coastlines facing sea level rise and severe storms. In addition, 65% of the targets of the 2030 Agenda are reliant on local action and engagement, and disasters and conflicts are present. Ladies and gentlemen, the summit and its Pact of the Future, the World Urban Forum with its call to action, the G20 with its social approach and alliances, this COP have gathered national, local, and regional governments, social and private sectors, with a clear and unified message of mobilizing now, the centrality of cities, and the strategic and fundamental role of local and regional governments, of participatory multi-level governance, and of building coalitions. Coalitions for the future, for the new urban agenda, for the social and development needs, to strengthen the economy, and ultimately to address climate change challenges. Housing and urban development ministers now speak with the same voice as cities and local governments. The strong endorsement of the Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships, CHAMP, for the Climate Action Pledge by 74 countries is a testament of it. Today represents a very important milestone. There's only one road to be pursued, one track, the one we walk collectively, where social, urban, and climate needs are addressed harmoniously over solid economic ground. Yes, we do need more finance flow into cities, but we do need to plan and prioritize. Land is scarce and needs to fulfill its social and ecological function. Social and housing needs are large. We take care of people, people take care of the planet, and we should leave no one behind. But we know that already. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anna Claudia Rosbach. Yes, indeed, local action and engagement of the local and the regional levels is inevitable if we are to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and address the needs of the urban poor. I now invite Rafael Husenov, Deputy Speaker of Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan, to highlight the role of parliamentarians in the field of urban climate action. Mr. Husenov, your floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished ministers, local leaders, partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's an honor to speak at this critical moment during COP29 as we gather to discuss the role of cities in driving transformative climate action. Today, cities are at the front line and the heart of the climate crisis. They are major contributors to global emissions and the first to feel the impacts of climate change. Yet they are also home to the solutions we are urgently need. They are where innovative solutions, sustainable infrastructure, and resilient communities can make the most significant difference. As parliamentarians, we play a vital role in advancing climate actions. We must ensure that climate policies are integrated across all sectors, from housing and transport to health and energy. We need to work with our local governments, the private sector, and civil society to create policies and empower cities to lead in both mitigation and adaptation. At COP29, we see the growing importance of multi-level and multisectoral cooperation. To scale up urban climate action, we need to connect all levels of government and align our politics across sectors. The MAP Declaration, Multisectoral Actions Pathways for Climate Resilient and Healthy Cities, launched today, will guide us in this collective effort for resilient and healthy cities. We highly appreciate the COP29 Presidency's creative initiative to bring a parliamentarian angle into the map. Many cities, especially in developing countries, struggle to access the financing they need to implement climate solutions. We must unlock innovative funding mechanisms, ensure that financing reaches the local level, and build strong partnership with international financial institutions, multilateral climate funds, and the private sector. Parliamentarians can also contribute to strengthening accountability and monitoring. We must ensure that commitments made by cities are translated into action and that progress is tracked. We can advocate for stronger mechanisms to monitor the impact of urban climate policies and ensure that climate action is inclusive, benefiting all segments of society. In conclusion, I would like to highlight words from an outstanding representative of world literature, the great Azerbaijani poet and thinker Nizami Ganjavi, who back in the 12th century promoted the key issues that are at the root of today's climate change discussions. Nizami proclaimed the following slogan throughout his poems: "On earth, in society, between people and nature, should reign harmony and consent. Otherwise, humanity will destroy itself." Today, Nizami's native city, Ganja, actively implements green city policies, participates in the EBRD Green City Program, cooperates with UNIDO of the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Program, and works with UNBC on strategic environmental performance for its new master plan draft. Today, Nizami's native country, Azerbaijan, hosts COP29, creates its global and regional legacies, and contributes to global climate negotiations. Dear participants, let us further strengthen our cooperation to enhance urban climate ambitions and enable urban climate actions. Only together we can efficiently realize Nizami Ganjavi's words and save our planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I will now move to the next speaker, Mr. Selwyn Hart. I now invite Selwyn Hart, the Special Advisor of the Secretary General on Climate Action and the Assistant Secretary General for Climate Action Team, to deliver a message on behalf of the United Nations Secretary General. Mr. Hart, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Cecilia, and it's really great to be here this morning, and I can feel the energy in this room from local leaders and parliamentarians. But let me begin by first thanking the COP29 presidency, as well as my colleagues from UN Habitat, Ana Claudia, and your excellent team. Thank you so much for convening this important dialogue at this critical moment in the fight against the climate crisis. The reality is, and the stark reality is, that the window of opportunity to keep the 1.5-degree limit of the Paris Agreement within reach and prevent the worst impacts of the climate crisis is almost closed. At current levels, we, and you in particular as local leaders, you are witnessing firsthand the consequences of inaction. Wildfires, droughts, heat waves, storms, floods, and accelerating sea level rise, they're devastating lives, livelihoods across your countries, across your regions, and across your cities. No continent, no region, no country is immune. And as the world charges towards the 1.5-degree limit, the cost of climate chaos keeps piling up. And you know firsthand that those that have contributed the least to the climate crisis are paying the highest price. More than 500 million urban residents live in coastal areas, and they face sea level rise and more frequent and severe storms. And by mid-century, which is about 25 years from now, up to half of the world's urban residents could be at risk from extreme heat. But Excellencies and colleagues, all hope is not lost. There has never been greater clarity and convergence around the world around what needs to be done, by whom, and over what time frame to avoid a climate catastrophe. And we have the technologies, the solutions, and the know-how to supercharge the energy transition while simultaneously protecting those on the front lines of the climate crisis. The renewables revolution is underway, and the transition is inevitable. In fact, it is unstoppable. The only open questions are, will it be fast enough to prevent the worst impacts of the climate crisis? And second, will it be fair, helping to reduce inequalities within and between nations? For example, we know that since the adoption of the Paris Agreement, 4 out of every $5 invested in clean energy has been in the advanced economies and China. The reality is that 2/3 of the countries representing 2/3 of the global population have just seen one out of every $5 invested in clean energy. Take the case of Africa, with 60% of the world's solar potential, solar PV potential, attracting less than 2% of global clean energy investments. We need to correct and reverse these inequalities. You, local leaders, are often going further and faster than your national governments. You are the true agents of change. You are the first movers and first doers, leading the renewables revolution, investing in sustainable infrastructure, transport, creating clean and new jobs, and cleaning up polluted air. You are leading from up front, but I ask for your assistance in 3 critical areas over the course of the next few months and years. First, on the nationally determined contributions which all governments must submit by next year. This new generation of NDCs, or National Climate Plans, should reflect the urgency of the climate challenge. They should reflect the urgency of the economy-wide, society-wide transformations required by each country. They must be backed by credible domestic policies and regulations, and clearly define national transition pathways that contribute to the goals that were agreed to last year at COP28. I urge you, do not sit on the sidelines. Demand a seat at the table and be advocates for the highest level of ambition. The impact of these national climate plans will be felt most at the local level. So you must be involved every step of the way. Second, continue to lead by example. The Secretary General has asked subnational leaders, as well as leaders from business and finance, to present credible transition plans aligned with the recommendations of his high-level expert group on net zero. This means plans that are aligned with 1.5, plans with interim targets, plans that cover scopes 1, 2, and 3 emissions, and plans that show a just transition pathway away from fossil fuels. So policies matter, and those of you that have the power to set policies and regulations must continue to demonstrate that climate policies and climate action at the local level can boost economic growth, create jobs, improve energy access, energy security, and energy affordability. In doing so, you will demonstrate to your national governments what credible 1.5 aligned climate action looks like. And finally, work with each other. In today's uncertain, unstable, and divided world, we need cooperation and collaboration on climate action across all levels. Geopolitical divisions must not and should not undermine the cooperation and collaboration our world needs. So grow and widen your networks. Dialogue and tangible collaboration at the subnational level will be crucial to raise and uphold global and national ambition, as well as deliver tangible climate action that makes a difference in the lives of people on the ground. For our part, the United Nations, we're all in. We're here to support you. We're here to work with you. We will continue to work tirelessly to build trust, find solutions, convene stakeholders, and inspire the cooperation and hope that our world desperately needs. So I thank you, and I look forward to continuing to work with you as we move towards COP30 in Brazil next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Hart, and for that special message from the UN Secretary General, actually reminding us that subnational governments are true agents of change. They are places of ambition, and climate action really happens at the local level. It's now indeed my great honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency Mr. Mukhtar Babayev, the COP29 President, to speak about the role of MAP as a key vehicle for urban climate negotiations and the road to COP30. Excellency, you have the floor. Yes.
The Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, dear friends, dear academicians, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to this important event on multi-level and multi-sectoral climate action. It is an honor to open this critical dialogue which sets the stage for Urbanization Day at COP29. Currently, urban areas are home to more than half of the global population. This figure projected to rise to nearly 70% by 2050. According to the projections, in the next 5-7 years, the urban population is expected to grow by over 500 million people, which will in turn put even greater pressure on urban infrastructure, including electricity and water supply, transportation, sewage systems, roads, and more. Urban centers are responsible for more than 70% of global CO2 emissions, primarily from transport, industries, and buildings. Significant portion of urban residents live in areas highly vulnerable to climate impact. By 2050, more than 1 billion people in low-lying cities and settlements will be at risk of the sea level rise. Ladies and gentlemen, today, COP29 presidency, pleased to launch the Declaration on Multisectoral Action, Pathways for Resilient and Healthy Cities. This initiative is designed to align multi-level actions, transforming urban spaces into hubs of resilience, sustainability, and climate leadership. It serves as a clear call to action, urging national governments, together with private and public stakeholders, to join forces and work closely toward these goals. Multi-level collaboration is vital. National policies must be translated into actionable strategies at the local level. Cities and regions need the tools, fundings, and authority to implement climate solutions designed to fit their unique and specific contexts. Therefore, initiatives like Baku Urban Continuity Coalition are so important, as they bring together different parties committed to enhancing cooperation. Urban climate finance is also a critical issue. Scaling up investment in urban infrastructure, energy-efficient buildings, and sustainable transport systems requires innovative financing mechanisms and stronger partnerships. This is not only about addressing climate risks, but also about unlocking opportunities for economic growth, job creation, and improved quality of life for urban populations. As we reflect on progress, I want to emphasize the need for inclusivity. Climate action in cities must address the needs of vulnerable populations, ensure equitable access to resources, and integrate diverse voices. Looking ahead, let us use these discussions throughout Urbanization Day to deepen our collaboration, identify practical solutions, and set ambitious goals for the future. Let us also commit to carrying forward the outcomes of this meeting, ensuring they inform the global agenda. COP29 presidency thanks all participants for dedication to this important issue. Together, we have the power to transform our cities and our planet for generations to come. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. And indeed, the MAP is a new and innovative vehicle that's addressing multisectoral, holistic urban approach, ensuring synergy between urban climate processes, the World Urban Forums, tackles complementarity and continuity between COP urban initiatives. Indeed, a very welcome initiative. Thank you very much, Excellency. I now invite Ms. Inga Anderson, Executive Director of United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, to speak about the importance of building healthy cities. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and my apologies for the late arrival. It's a busy morning, but it is a great pleasure to be here together with subnational governments, together with mayors, together with governors, together with local government officials. Because you are where climate meets population, at least the vast majority of the population. We celebrate this third time where we are addressing at a COP the urban challenges and the links between urbanization and climate change. I congratulate you, Minister Babayev, as well as my dear colleague Anna Claudia, the Executive Director of UN Habitat, for again putting this on the table of a COP. It is important because we are not going in the direction that we would want. The emissions gap report of this year tells us that our emission went up in 2023 by 1.3% when it should have gone down, obviously. That means that between now and the end of and 2030, we need now to see a reduction of 41% in our emissions, or we will bypass 1.5 degrees. If we want to hit 2 degrees, and we really don't, then we have to reduce by 28%. So the cities carry a significant burden. The weight of cities in the climate context is important, but it is also the home to the vast majority of our populations, as we just heard from the previous speakers. In fact, the 25 megacities, just 25 megacities, are responsible for 52% of all the greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. That means, therefore, that the actions that you take at home, in terms of the standards that you set for efficiency, in terms of the energy sources that you supply, in terms of how you deal with waste and methane emissions, etc., in terms of how you deal with public transport, in terms of how you encourage electric mobility, in terms of how you encourage pedestrian and walkable cities, all of that plus can have a massive contribution to the weight of cities in the context of climate change. But cities are also the victim of the impacts of climate change, and this is where the adaptation measures that cities will have to take have to be part and parcel of your zoning, your planning, your building standards, etc. Think permeable surfaces. Think about rivers having enough space that they can breathe in a high flood, not hemming it in by concrete, but allowing it the floodplain. Consider nature-based solutions so that the ambient cooling in your cities can be there simply by planting trees and having parks. That which is also much better for your children and for our children who can enjoy the green spaces in dry times. There is a lot that is happening in the cities because it is also the innovation lab for everything that we need to do in terms of climate. And when you work in cities, you are also looking at the indivisibility of their environmental challenges. Working on climate, invariably on adaptation, you will be working on positive biodiversity solution. Working on resources and waste management, you will be working on reducing plastic and reducing methane. Working on pollution, and invariably, and energy efficiency, invariably, you will be working on the Montreal Protocol and reduction of chlorinated gases. In the environmental sector, everything is connected to everything, and it all comes to your desk. So we ask you, therefore, to work through the partnerships that exist, work through the Global Alliance for Building and Construction, work through the Intergovernmental Council on Buildings and Climate, work through the Cooling Pledge, where 15 cities just yesterday have announced their commitments to global cooling, so that in the next, as we just heard from my colleague Selwyn Hart, in the next NDCs that your countries will submit, make sure your voice is heard. These NDCs have to be submitted by February. They have to be ambitious. The G20 country alone are responsible for 77% of all global emissions. Therefore, within each G20 country, of course, we want to see those with the longest historical trail making the biggest effort, but everybody will need to lean in, and that means that the cities can lead and be part of the big solution. But also ensure that your cities are reflected in the national adaptation plans. That is how we can keep all citizens of this world safe. To all, I thank you for this day and hope that your deliberations will have the wealth of knowledge exchanged amongst you. And again, we give thanks to our friends, the Azerbaijani ministry and the leadership here in this country, as well as to my friends for UN Habitat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson, for your statement. We will now move to the second part of this event, where we will be looking from COP27 to COP30, taking stock of previous COP initiatives. And we will have interventions from about 5 speakers. I would like to indicate that the speakers will be speaking from the rostrum, and therefore I kindly request that you be ready when it's your turn to come. Just start coming towards the rostrum so that we can move a little bit faster. Therefore, at this juncture, it is indeed my great pleasure to invite Mr. Mohammed Masood El-Sadawi, the chairman of the National Housing and Building Research, to update us on COP27 Presidency Initiative on Sustainable Urban Resilience for the Next Generation. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, moderator. Ministers and ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, states from all the world in COP29. On the behalf of the Egyptian Ministry of Housing, I would like to express his deep apology because His Excellency can't attend this event. At Charis, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all who generously participate in our gathering. The Ministry launched in WOF, World Urban Forum 12, this month the Green Urbanization Strategy, which comes within the framework of implementing the Sustainable Development Strategy, matching with Egyptian Vision 2030. One of the most important goals of it is environmental sustainability and sustainable urban resilience for next generation, which seeks to preserve development and environmental together by maintaining the rational use of energy, water, material, and resources, and improving air quality. The strategy is also consistent with the direction of implementing the 2050 climate change strategy, which aligns with the global movement to protect the Earth from climate change and to create a state of balance with the environment in various sectors. Most notably, the building and construction sector, through a trend towards green construction, which depends on the concept of sustainability in design, implementation, and operation. It is my pleasure that Housing and Building Research National Research Center, under the umbrella of Egyptian Ministry of Housing, Utilities, and Urban Communities, plays a leading role in promoting sustainable development, especially in the field of green constructions, from about 15 years as follows. A ministerial decision was issued to establish the Egyptian Council for Green Building and Sustainable Cities, headed by His Excellency, Minister of Housing, Utilities, and Urban Communities. Egypt issued the first Egyptian system for evaluating green buildings in Egypt, which was issued by a ministerial decision in December 2010, and is called the Egyptian Green Pyramid Rating System, GBRS, which was prepared by many of the center's researchers, Egyptian university professors, and specialized consultants, and was updated in 2017. Egypt and the Social Housing Fund launched in 2020 the low-cost green housing initiative in cooperation with the World Bank, and initiative aimed to build 55,000 housing units, of which 25,000 green housing units are currently being implemented as a first phase. In 2022, in cooperation with the Social Housing Fund and with the precipitation of the World Bank, Egypt issued a version of Egyptian Green Pyramid Rating System for residential building to certify 25,000 units as the first phase of green social housing. The second phase, including 30,000 green housing units, which are in tendering process and expected to reduce energy consumptions by range between 24% to 35%, depend on the location, reducing carbon emission by 33 to 39%, and reducing water consumptions by 30%. It is worth noting that to obtain the Green Pyramid Rating System for residential building, GBRS, certificate, the project must meet all mandatory requirements and obtain accreditation points by achieving several criteria, which include site sustainability, energy and water efficiency, as well as improving indoor environmental quality, reducing carbon emissions resulting from material, and conserving resources. In October 2024, Egypt issued the Green Building Guidelines to encourage the private sector, bank, and real estate to go green in construction sector. Egypt encouraged updating national guidelines to include new air conditioning technologies that would provide a framework to support adaptation of more energy efficient and environmentally friendly cooling option in Egypt. By implementing specific codes, expanding testing protocols, and providing financial and educational support. The guidelines can facilitate a transition towards sustainable cooling solutions aligned with Egyptian environmental goals. Egypt focused on mandate environmental eco-friendly refrigerants with minimal environmental impact. Egypt already issued the National Code for Alternative Refrigerants and National Code for District Cooling and the National Code for Sustainable Cooling in New Urbans. Finally, I would like to conclude my speech by extending my sincere thanks to everyone who contributed to all these intensives in Egypt, which is a major step on the path of achieving sustainable development and transition towards a sustainable green urbanized and buildings, which is supported by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Thank you a lot, and go to COP30, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Mr. El Sadawi, for this statement. I now invite His Excellency Mr. Thomas Taraba, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Environment, to share with us the search partnership announced with Slovak Republic. Excellency, you have the floor.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to address you today at this event. This marks a critical moment in our shared journey towards resilient and healthy cities, where our collective commitment will drive the change we so urgently need. Urban areas occupy less than 2% of the Earth's surface, but stand for 57% of the world's total population, with a projected increase to 68% by 2050. At the same time, cities are responsible for approximately 70% of all GHG emissions. Urban areas are often among the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. This year, Slovakia, as other countries in Europe, has experienced the hottest summer on record. It brought heavy rains and devastating floods. Others have experienced heat waves and droughts. Therefore, our cities have to become more resilient by taking action on all levels of governance across sectors, since municipalities may face lack of administrative capacities, dependence on central governmental funding, or even low investment undertakings. This is why today we are launching the Multisectoral Action Pathways Declaration for Resilient and Healthy Cities. The MAP Declaration builds on the foundation laid by previous COP initiatives such as SURGE or CHAMP and introduces new areas of focus. It highlights the importance of integrating nature-based solutions, health, urban agriculture, disaster resilience, and the role of digital technologies in building urban resilience. I'm pleased to announce that the Slovak Republic is proud to join and endorse the MAP Declaration for Resilient and Healthy Cities. This commitment is a continuation of Slovakia's dedication to sustainable urban development. In fact, Slovakia became a search champion at the World Urban Forum in Egypt this year, further solidifying our role in advancing urban climate action. As a nation, we understand that sustainable and resilient cities are integral to achieving our broader climate and development goals, and we will continue to push for greater action in this crucial area. Let me present you with one example of climate action in Slovakia. Modernization of buildings for energy efficiency and promotion of sustainable construction practices can significantly reduce emissions while making our urban infrastructure more resilient. In our national climate and energy plan, we include measures that focus on improving the thermal insulation performance of buildings and electrification of heating. We introduce higher energy efficiency requirements for new and renovated buildings, corresponding to the application of stricter standards. We also launched a subsidized scheme for improving energy efficiency and reduction of GHG emissions in low-income households. Only during the year 2024, Slovakia invested more than 400 million euros for building or modernization of sewage systems and water pipelines in our cities. Finally, we commend the government of Azerbaijan for its unwavering commitment to sustainable urbanization, with Baku set to host the World Urban Forum and World Environment Day in 2026. We look forward to a global platform that will further elevate urban climate solutions and accelerate the progress. Thank you once again for your dedication and for the opportunity to work together.
Excellency, thank you for your statement. I now invite Dr. Nawal Al-Hosani, Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, to update on Coalition of High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships that was launched at COP28. Dr. Nawal, you have the floor.
Your Excellencies, colleagues, distinguished guests, good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me here. It is an absolute honor to join you today to map out the next steps for the multi-level action. I would like first to thank and congratulate the COP29 presidency and the UN Habitat for the launch of both the declaration and the coalition of the COP presidencies. These are two very big and mature steps forward in the young history of the urban ministerial. And the UAE is committed to their implementation because we have seen firsthand how subnational actors can dramatically raise ambition. Ladies and gentlemen, the consultations on the global stocktake revealed that cities alone can help bridge the major gap between the current indices and a 1.5 aligned pathway by 2030. At the same time, greater involvement from subnational actors can lead to similarly impressive adaptation gains. Our colleague, Mayor Robertson, will provide the latest findings. But first, allow me to cast our minds back to Dubai 1 year ago. At COP28, we set a powerful new precedent for multi-level engagement by integrating local actors into the COP process for the first time. More than 500 mayors and governors participated in COP28 with the support of the Bloomberg philanthropists. Local actors joined our sectorial steering committees as part of an 18-month lead-up to Dubai. And as a result, we launched the Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships, better known as CHAMP. This is a new take on a long-term challenge. Rather than asking cities to undertake action alone, we urged federal governments to involve subnational actors in their NDCs and climate finance strategies. That's not all. With the Global Covenant of Mayors, we also mobilized support for implementation, linked with NDC partnerships. Additionally, the UAE has proudly invested $1.5 million through the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, to help federal and subnational governments work together to align NDCs with the universally adopted goal to triple renewables and double energy efficiency by 2030. So far, 74 countries have made the CHAP commitment. And this year, we have already seen real implementation. Many of you will have noticed the strong multi-level content in some of the NDCs presented here in Baku. This matches our own domestic experience in the UAE. We are a country of 7 emirates and highly urbanized. Subnational actors will play a major role in defining the success of our 2050 net zero strategy. As a result, our NDC is based on an extensive consultations process with around 800 feedback points at the federal, emirate, and municipal level. Accordingly, we are moving forward together at a speed and scale with subnational policies, targets, and finance. Looking ahead to COP30, I would like to propose 2 potential focus areas for the new coalition of co-presidency. First, it would be a very powerful statement of intent if we can arrive in Balham with an even larger vanguard of countries that are tapping into the power of cities and regions in their NDCs. We encourage all parties to join CHAMP and put multi-level action at the heart of both adaptation and mitigation progress in 2050. Second, as we finalize the new collective quantified goal on climate finance, NCQG, and continue to work on reforming the global financial architecture, we must keep cities and subnational actors in mind. With UN Habitat and GCOM support, it would send a very powerful signal if we could begin to establish a new global benchmark on annual climate finance for cities. If we push these 2 points, the urban ministerial at COPs would be even a more impactful platform for tracking progress. I know I don't need to convince the audience that multi-level action is one of the best investments we can make for the climate, for sustainable economic growth, and most importantly, for people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nawal, for your statement. I now invite Mr. Gregor Robertson, the Special Envoy for Cities in Coalition for High Ambition, CHAMP, multi-level partnerships, or popularly known as CHAMP, to provide an outlook and roadmap.
Thank you, Cecilia. Excellencies, colleagues, distinguished delegates, ministers and mayors, good morning. It's an honor to speak today about CHAMP and its critical role in driving climate action for all levels of government as we look ahead to COP30. And I want to thank and acknowledge our COP29 hosts here for bringing along MAP and the continuity that's critical with CHAMP as well. Launched less than a year ago, CHAMP has rapidly become a beacon for multi-level climate action with 74 member countries that are committed to empowering cities, states, and regions. And CHAMP exemplifies how national and subnational governments can unite and turn the tide on this climate crisis. The potential is massive. CHAMP has become a beacon because cities can close up to 40% of the global emissions reductions gap. Excuse me. Between current NDCs and the 1.5 pathway to 2030. That's a 40% contribution that is critical in these times. From the G20 in Rio to COP29 here in Baku, subnational leaders have been relentless in their call for greater collaboration with national governments on climate action. And we are calling for, firstly, more countries to join CHAMP and to the existing members to deliver on their pledge to include subnational governments in their development process and content of their NDCs, adaptation plans, and biodiversity strategies. Secondly, more investment in subnational action, particularly in providing resources for the most vulnerable populations, many of those who live in urban areas. And third, stronger implementation of the pipelines of projects in cities and regions that deliver the action that's needed for 1.5C pathway, while also providing for those essential jobs and services, boosting prosperity for hundreds of millions of people worldwide. Cities are uniquely positioned to deliver the transformational wins. They are home to large populations. They serve as economic hubs. They currently burn most of the fossil fuels and hold authority over critical sectors like energy, transport, buildings, and waste. Cities and regions are key to decarbonizing these largest sources of climate pollution and reversing our devastating impact on nature. And they are on the front lines for building resilience to protect people through the extreme floods, fires, and heat waves. We've already seen remarkable progress from the breakthrough NDCs in Brazil and UAE, and from Colombia to South Korea, Kenya to Morocco. CHAMP is empowering groundbreaking partnerships between national governments and cities and regions to accelerate local climate action. And we stand at a crossroads today. There are many who believe and have lost faith in the ability for the multilateral process and international cooperation to deliver meaningful results for communities and our planet. But we have a chance to correct that. By working together, national, regional, and local leaders can achieve more than they ever could alone. To my colleagues here today, I urge you to amplify CHAMP's vision with your nations and networks and push for much greater ambition, partnership, investment, and action from here to COP30 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Gregor Robertson. I now invite His Excellency Mr. Antonio da Costa e Silva, Ambassador, Ministry of Cities in Brazil, to speak about the roadmap to COP30. Excellency Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I will give a rest to the Spanish interpreters and speak in Spanish, if you don't mind.
Good morning to all. I would like to first of all greet you all, Ana Gulio, President of the Committee of Urban Planification and Architecture, and also I would like to say hello to the Vice Secretary General, Ana Claudia Rosba. Also, I would like to recognize that the role that plays also the necessity of that we require more champions in our agenda. They invite me to talk in COP30, so I would like to take advantage of this occasion to invite you all next year to the COP event, and especially in relation with the CHAMP agenda when it comes to construction of a robust climate action for all humanity. For Brazil, it's this action of multi-level action is also a very important constitutional event that requires collaboration and working together in our municipalities and also the federal level when in taking climate actions. So we will also reflect that not only we will also reiterate not only our promise with the CHAMP, but also our also initiatives, but also we have to construct a process in which a multi-level action should be an indispensable part of the climate action. But because there is not only interrelation, all the agenda that we have is interrelated with the multisectoral actions and also climate actions, also green cities, sustainable cities. In this forum today, I would like to give voice to the Brazilian government, our promise to forest the collaborative action that helps sustainable cities and also the adaptation of climate adaptation through new technologies. We are in Brazil supporting projects that look for transformations and for sustainable development and also reduction of carbon emission rate. In this coordinated action, we reinforce our leaders to face challenges and encourage them to develop a sustainable future. Also, challenges of climate change. With this spirit, we would like to talk about the urban question, also the action, multisectoral action, by constructing exactly the examples that former COP meetings have provided us in United Arab Emirates, and here also we reiterated with the government of Azerbaijan. Brazil is, in our cities in Brazil, more than 80% of people live in urban cities. The time for action is now, ladies and gentlemen. Brazil has made advances in this direction with all the nations and all the cities and all the regional governments thinking that, considering that the climate change has a vital importance. But it also has echoes, global echoes. We have to construct just cities, resilience, and also prepared for the challenges that we are facing now. Minister here, they always insist on one thing that I would like to repeat. It's necessary alliances. It's the action number 55 that we have approved in the United Nations, and these alliances that we construct, map, we will also construct them all together, and they are essentials not only for the climate action but also to keep our promise with the sustainable development agenda. Because in order to combat the inequality, poverty, it's not only sufficient to implement, but also amplify this vision in cities. For this reason, we are convinced that there would be no climate justice without social justice, and nor would be social justice without urban justice. Thank you.
And thank you for all the speakers in that segment for joining and connecting the dots between previous, current, and future COP presidencies. We now move to part 3, where national governments will have the opportunity to take the floor. I would like to remind the speakers that everyone needs to limit their interventions to no more than 2.5 minutes. This will allow everyone to make a statement, or I may be forced to close your microphone, which I don't want to. So let's give each other a chance, as this room will be required at 11 a.m. So I really urge you to keep your statements as short as possible. I'll now give the floor to the representative of the Republic of Lithuania. the Republic of Lithuania would be followed by the Republic of Belize and followed by the Kingdom of Cambodia. If those three can be ready to make their statements, but for now, the floor is yours, Republic of Lithuania.
Thank you, Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, cities and houses built today will stand for decades. This means that today's new urbanization should be both fit for climate-neutral planet in 26 years, meaning 2050, and the climate change resilient, because we will use them in very different climate than we are using today. Are we on the right path? Our cities are not just economic powerhouses. They also are among the largest emitters. We are still using building materials like cement, which emits very high greenhouse gases. And we are powering and moving in cities with fossil fuels, just to start with examples. So we as urban planners should agree that all new development should be a solution for climate change mitigation and adaptation, not a problem. The power of change lies in the city leaders and urban planners' hands. For example, in Lithuania, Vilnius, the capital, is one of the greenest cities in Europe. We are narrowing streets to change it from the cars to the bike lanes. We are changing paved environment to green sponge areas for surplus water and green lungs for urban air. Monofunctional urban quarters are diversified by municipal interventions. We have also learned our failures from the past top-down planning. So today any urban planning doesn't happen without discussion at the neighborhood level. Retrofitting existing housing is a major challenge. As a Nordic country, Lithuania focuses on housing insulation. By so we are creating jobs and reducing energy bills for our citizens. Socially vulnerable get such retrofitting for free from the state. We are also using prefabricated CO2 negative wood panels to enable faster and climate-positive solutions. Meanwhile, the new urbanization in Lithuania must incorporate pedestrian-oriented and green cities with mixed uses of spatial planning, whereas new houses are built only with passive energy, prosumer energy features, include life cycle assessment for greenhouse gas emissions, and obligatory use of CO2 negative construction materials, and accessibility for handicap. The journey towards green and resilient cities starts with our next construction permit in your next city. Let us make it a solution for global challenges, not a problem. Thank you.
I thank the representative for their statement of Lithuania. I now give the floor to the representative of Cambodia. Excellency, you have the floor.
Madam Moderator, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Cambodian delegation, I'm pleased to participate in the ministerial meeting on urbanization and climate change. Climate change has put pressures on cities due to people displacement and in-migration into cities. The resulting rapid urbanization has brought many challenges, including housing crisis, public services and infrastructure, and unplanned urban sprawl and informal settlement, etc., thus affecting environment sustainability and public well-being. As a country vulnerable to climate change, Cambodia takes climate change and green transformation seriously. Green investment with private sector participation are considered a priority in our national development policy. Our updated NDC presents our commitment and need for next decade, realizing our vision of a low-carbon and resilient society. For instance, in the energy sector, we aim to reduce our emission target by over 21%, and in the industrial sector by over 9%. Additionally, we adopted long-term strategy to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 through continued effort to address deforestation and land use, decarbonize our power sector, pursue energy efficiency, as well as promote low-carbon agriculture and industrial processes, and waste management. Cambodia is working to enable greater financing opportunity for such investment. We strongly hope that the private sector will play a major role in accelerating Cambodia's sustainable development. Our Ministry of Land Management, Urban Planning and Construction has been promoting, among others, green building practices, climate resilient social housing across the country. To do this requires huge financing investment. We call on UN agency and development partners, as well as private sector, to work closely with us to support our commitment and needs to address such complex issues and realize our vision of a low-carbon, climate-resilient, and harmonious society. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your statement. I now invite the representative of the Republic of Chad. Excellency, you have the floor.
Mesdames et Messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable ministers, representatives of international organizations of the UN system, dear participants, it is a real pleasure to take the floor on the occasion of this ministerial high-level roundtable. I'd like to express my gratitude to the government of Azerbaijan for this excellent organization. I'd like to thank the UN system for their support for the improvement of populations. Chad is committed in the UN FCC process, the ODDs and the new urban agenda and 2063 agenda of the African Union. Of course, we are facing a very profound climate crisis, but each time we attend COP, we ask ourselves, because we are impacted by a climate crisis, and the consequences are increasingly dire, because in my country, majority of the states and regions are affected by inundations, and we have 42,000 hectares of land that have been devastated, and agricultural arable lands have been destructed, and our bridges and roads have also been destructed. Facing the situation, we have a National Committee of Prevention of Inundations. We're trying to coordinate our measures. Everything to tell you that today, these countries like mine face these dire consequences, but we have very limited resources, and it's very difficult for us to face this situation. So it is a high time for all these countries engaged in this COP processes to come and support us, because tomorrow it will be too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Chad, I now invite the representative of Estonia.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Estonia firmly believes that strong collaboration between national and local governments is essential for achieving the Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals. I'd like to share our approach and experiences. First, local energy and climate planning is a cornerstone of our climate action framework. To date, 60 out of 75 municipalities in Estonia have developed their energy and climate plans. These plans are critical for aligning local actions with national climate targets. In parallel, we are driving efforts to integrate urban nature into local planning. Just as municipalities are encouraged to create energy and climate plans, cities with more than 10,000 inhabitants are also required to develop urban greening plans, which aim to increase biodiversity and improve living environment. These plans are aligned with the newly adopted Nature Restoration Regulation, and they strengthen capacity of cities to mitigate urban heat islands, reduce flooding risks, and foster healthier communities. To further bolster local capacity, we have established the role of a local government green reform coordinator and launched a network as a part of broader coordination structure. This ensures that municipalities have access to expertise and peer learning opportunities to address complex climate challenges. We are also committed to building local climate competence through targeted training. A new series of seminars and workshops specifically designed for municipalities will cover critical topics such as risk adaptation, green financing, and resilience building. These efforts are complemented by the development of green reform indicators, enabling municipalities to measure progress and refine strategies. Finally, Estonia is preparing updated climate projections up to 2100, including assessments of risks related to seasonal changes, precipitation, extreme weather, and sea level rise. These digital tools and maps are accessible to municipalities, banks, insurance companies, city planners, and wider public, and they provide robust risk assessments across sectors, from infrastructure resilience to public health preparedness. One example of this is our long-standing building exclusion zones for flood-prone areas, keeping vulnerable coastal zones free of construction. This policy has already proven effective in mitigating risks from storm surges and floods, as well as keeping fragile coastal ecosystems intact. Through these initiatives, Estonia exemplifies how national governments can empower local authorities to lead climate action, ensuring resilience, sustainability, and alignment with global goals. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I thank you for your statement. I now invite the representative of Georgia. The representative of Georgia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, colleagues. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is both a privilege and honor to be here, and I'd like to congratulate our Azerbaijani friends and brothers of having such a great success of hosting COP29 and putting and addressing those very important and acute topics to whole world, making the focus on, in particular for this session, of development and environmental protection, development and climatic resilience. Those are the topics which are so important to be developed, because development is an irrevocable process, but at the same time our approach is that it should be balanced. It should be balanced when not losing and keeping what we are making the development for. And this is something related to our future. Infrastructural development plays a pivotal role in combating climate change. When designed and implemented thoughtfully, it has the power to reduce emissions, improve energy efficiency, and create resilient communities that can survive the impacts of a changing climate. By prioritizing the integration of renewable energies, efficient transportation system, and eco-friendly technologies, we can minimize our ecological footprint while fostering economic growth. However, we must not lose sight and focus on the fundamental truth. Prevention is our priority. It is not enough to simply react to the consequences of climate change. We must take bold, proactive steps to prevent further damage to our planet. This requires deep collaboration and the sharing of knowledge and expertise between the countries. Each nation brings unique experience, challenges, and solutions to the table, and this is why meetings like these and forums and platforms like these are a great opportunity when sharing that successful experience of the countries, which is quite specific and unique from country to country. The future of our cities depends on our ability to integrate sustainability and balance processes into every aspect of urban life. By aligning our actions with SDGs, and in particular when speaking about water resources with SDG 6, making urban upgrades that are energy efficient and climate resilient, implementation innovative lighting and energy solutions, and challenging to the climate change and urbanization, we can create urban space that are not only better for the planet, but also better for the people who call them home. Let us work together, and this is natural. Governments, businesses, communities, and of course the individuals, to build cities that are sustainable, inclusive, and, of course, resilient. Our cities are the heartbeat of our nations, and it is our responsibility to ensure they remain places where future generations can prosper. Thank you very much, and again, congratulations to Azerbaijan for such a great event, such a great organization, and such an important topics. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's now my pleasure to invite the representative of the Republic of Italy.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. We would like to thank the Azerbaijani government for organizing this ministerial meeting on a critical issue such as the role of cities in the fight against climate change. Italy recognized the construction and building sector among the value chains that constitute a challenge in terms of circularity. We underline the importance of energy efficiency as an upstream choice of consumption reduction policies, particularly relevant in the building and urban sector. During the Italian presidency, we introduced nature-based solutions to promote climate change mitigation and adaptation in cities within the G20. As part of the Intergovernmental Council on Buildings and Climate, created following the Chelios Declaration, Italy has proposed 4 priority issues to focus on in the coming years. First, tax mechanism and innovative solution for the financing of energy redevelopment of private real estates. Second, the role of public administration in refurbishing the public building as a leading example. Third, circular economy in the urban area and the construction sector for waste reduction and the reuse and recycling of building materials. Fourth, technical planning and design solution to reduce building consumption. The full involvement of local levels in the environmental and climate efforts is crucial. Since the approval of the 2030 Agenda, Italy has adopted a multi-level approach to implementing its sustainability strategy. Together with the UN Habitat, we have launched a joint initiative called the Partnership Platform on Localizing the SDGs to collaborate globally with partner countries and their cities and local levels. The involvement of territories in urban development policies in connection with those of sustainable development was a theme dealt under the Italian presidency of the G7. We are confident that exchanging information, updates and best practices among member states will facilitate the advancement of the climate change agenda on the global and local level. We wish all fruitful results and look forward to the positive outcomes of the high-level roundtable organized by the President. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I now invite the representative of Malaysia. Representative of Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Salam Malaysia Madani, a very good morning. It is a great honor to address this meeting in Baku, as Malaysia reaffirms its unwavering commitment to advancing urban climate action. Today, we convene with a deep sense of urgency because the most pressing extreme climate events have the highest impact in urban environment. Malaysia is experiencing rapid urbanization, with over 80% of the population projected to reside in urban areas by 2030. However, extreme climate events such as urban flooding have been occurring very often. This year, we have also experienced the worst heat wave in living memory. We understand that rapid urbanization has increased our carbon footprint, which is a direct result of urban sprawl. Therefore, we must meticulously plan our cities to ensure they are resilient and capable of withstanding extreme weather events. Excellencies, I'm pleased to express Malaysia's strong support for the declaration of multi-sectoral action pathway maps to resilient and healthy cities. Its focus on fostering multi-sectoral collaboration is critical for addressing the complex challenges posed by climate change, especially in urban settings, where these impacts are most pronounced. In fact, MAP aligns closely with our national priorities, such as the Low Carbon and Climate Change Resilient Urban Planning Guidelines, spearheaded by the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. These guidelines aim to ensure that our cities are not just hubs of growth, but also champions of climate resilience and sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia has taken significant steps to address urbanizations with climate-conscious strategies, embracing multi-level and multi-sectoral approaches. We are now preparing the third National Urbanization Policy for inclusive and balanced development, which emphasizes on creating cities that are not only economically vibrant, but also livable and sustainable. Meanwhile, we have rebranded our affordable housing program, known as the People Residential Program. We aim to integrate climate resilience design features into our affordable housing project. This ensures that our urban poor are not left behind in the transition to greener, more sustainable cities. Furthermore, we aim to build and upgrade at least 100 public parks each year to scale up nature-based solutions. We are also increasing our investment with significant budget allocated for flood mitigation works ahead of the monsoon period. We recognize that the scale of urban climate challenges call for intensified action and also greater financial support. The stark reality is that only 27% of national determined contribution globally currently include comprehensive urban strategies. We must do better. Through COP29, Malaysia aims to establish itself as a leading hub for green investment by promoting supportive policies and fostering strategic collaboration to drive sustainable growth. As we convene here in Baku, I urge all member states to unite in addressing climate change and advancing sustainable development, building inclusive and resilient cities. It is only by prioritizing peace and climate action that we can ensure a livable planet for future generations. Madam Chair, we will not be remembered for what we say, but we will be remembered for what we have done and left for the future generation. Malaysia is committed to contributing and collaborating. Together, let us turn this vision into reality. Thank you. Terima kasih.
I thank you for your statement. May I kindly remind you to keep your statements shorter so that we give everybody a chance to make their statement. As I mentioned, this room is needed at 11, and therefore I really beg your understanding. I now invite the representative of Montenegro to make their statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to address this esteemed gathering here in the vibrant city of Baku. As the Minister responsible for special planning and urbanism, I am acutely aware of the pivotal role our sector plays in the global effort to combat climate change. Buildings and construction account for nearly 40% of global carbon emissions, making it imperative that we adopt sustainable practices and innovative solutions to reduce our environmental footprint. In that sense, our government has its clear strategic directions for the immediate future. Our journey towards a sustainable future begins with the adoption of green building standards and energy-efficient technologies. By integrating renewable energy sources into our building designs, we can significantly reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. Additionally, the use of sustainable materials and the implementation of circular economy principles will help minimize waste and promote resource efficiency. The first concrete steps on the way to circular transition in Montenegro were made with the development of the so-called Roadmap of Montenegro towards a circular economy, a document identifying priority areas and key driving factors for circular transition, among with also the so-called built environment based on sustainable spatial planning and circular design. Used components and waste generated in construction, demolition, and renovation projects are reused or recycled. In conclusion, the buildings and construction sector has a unique opportunity to lead the way in the fight against climate change. By embracing sustainability, innovation, and collaboration, we can build a future that is not only resilient, but also prosperous for all. Let us seize this moment to make a lasting impact and ensure a better world for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Montenegro. I now invite the representative of the Principality of Monaco. Monaco, you have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable colleagues, it's an honor for me to speak in front of you. We have a very important objective, building green and sustainable cities. This requires collaborated efforts. Our infrastructures, our urban areas are responsible for the majority of emissions, so we need to become models of adaptation, resilience. Monaco is already putting in practice. Since 1963, we have innovated our marine resources for heating purposes. This represents 20% of energy consumption in Monaco. We are also working on transitioning towards green and decarbonated energies. We are trying to limit the negative impact. We have a label that is called Mediterranean Building. This is a very important label for virtuous construction practices, and this is a showcase of our commitment to fight against greenhouse emission gases. But this is also at the heart of public policies in conformity with SDG 15. We need to concentrate on green areas, and we need to increase biodiversity in cities. Nature-based solutions should be at the heart of adaptation plans in order to improve the quality of life of our citizens. Dear friends, we need, of course, to have a local coordination and stakeholder mobilization to reach these objectives. That is why our Prince Albert II has launched a national coalition for societies, for companies, and private sector. We also have an international cooperation with international actors. Together, we can build the housing units of the future. We can have a climate resilience. Thank you very much for these very fruitful exchanges.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we will not be able to take any more national statements now, and what we would like to encourage you to do is to submit your statements in writing. All those that were listed to speak. Unfortunately, due to time constraints and the need for this room for the proceedings of the COP, we will not be able to take any more national speakers, and I really beg for your indulgence. Sorry, very sorry about that. I will now only also limit the number of speakers in the mayoral segment to only 2, again, for the same reasons. Give me 1 second to consult. So I now give the floor to the governor of Shusha, Azerbaijan, to make your statement. Excellency, you have the floor.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to speak at such high-level ministerial meetings of the COP29. It is just 4 years have passed since Karabakh and East Zangezur territories were liberated from occupation, and today we may state that enormous work has been done by various public agencies and private sector towards reconstruction and rehabilitation of liberated areas, and thus paving the way for safe return of its residents to their homes. Now, while continuing the infrastructure and other construction projects over there, we are focusing on creating the resilient environment for comfort living of our people in that part of Azerbaijan. In the city of Shusha, which is the cultural capital of Azerbaijan, where we carefully balance the ongoing reconstruction works with preservation of historical heritage sites and monuments, the special attention is paid to the creation of sustainable infrastructure that meets current requirements of climate agenda and sustainable development goals in general. It is one of the reasons why the government has issued a special decree in 2021 for prohibiting all businesses potentially harmful to the environment to operate their establishments within the city bounds. We are currently implementing the project for integrated water management system in the city, including the overall replacement of the outdated water supply and sewage system, as well as construction of efficient wastewater treatment facility. Shusha is the first site for pilot project aimed at modernization of waste management by introducing the underground waste collection containers with separation possibilities. The modern treatment plants will also be built in the region in the near future. Thousands of new apartments in the residential complexes are being built currently in all regulated territories, including Shusha. The construction sector shows its good commitment to the establishing of the resilient building practice by introducing the new technologies and materials that allows the energy-efficient buildings to be built. I have to add that national government established the best business climate solutions for local businesses via its network of regional special economic parks and encourages them to produce locally as much as possible energy-efficient materials for construction sector. I am proud to inform you, dear meeting participants, that our city of Shusha is the first city in Azerbaijan where its public transport is 100% electrified, and today our electric buses serve city's residents and its visitors. In conclusion, I would like to make sure that we support the Multisectoral Action Pathways Declaration for Resilient and Healthy Cities. By endorsing this declaration, Shusha affirms its commitment to a collaborative, multisectoral approach to climate action. We are committed to making Shusha a model for resilience and sustainability, not just for Azerbaijan, but for the broader region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now give the floor to the Mayor of Turku City, Finland. Excellency, you have the floor.
Excellencies, colleagues and fellow climate leaders, it's my honor to speak to you today on behalf of the city of Turku, ICLEI and the LGMA constituency. We are here as protectors of our shared future, united by urgency and action, but we all must do better. To the national leaders in this room, my message is clear. Cities are ready and willing to help. We are innovative, we are determined, and already driving the change on the ground. We will never give up. You can rely on that. But together, we all can do so much better. Since the Paris Agreement, cities and regions have set ambitious climate targets and taken bold steps. Turku, my home city in Finland, is a proud example. We are going to be climate neutral by 2029, showing that the sustainable future is within reach. At COP28 in Dubai, parties called for multi-level action, and the JAMP initiative presented a practical model for this implementation. Hundreds of towns, cities and regions under the LGMA constituency have proposed 3 key asks to COP29. First, accelerate multi-level action. Second, finance urbanizations fairly. And third, integrate climate action into all sustainability agendas. This means phasing out fossil fuels quickly and keeping promises. We need climate finance that focuses on grants, not loans, ensuring a fair transition for all levels of government. And additionally, we must build synergies between mitigation, adaptation, and biodiversity to create a healthier planet. The LGMA endorses the COP29 MAP initiative and truth appeal. However, Baku must also leave a concrete legacy. We call for COP29 negotiated outcomes to kickstart a process in Baku that sees the opportunities of sustainable urbanization for climate action. This work should culminate in agreements COP30 in Belém. And as we look ahead, let us remember, hope gives us strength to act. Ambition drives real progress, but only action turns hope into reality. And hope cannot thrive without action. Today, on World Children's Day, let us remember we owe our children a future filled with hope and action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll now give the floor to the Republic of Turkey. Please keep your statement for 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator, distinguished minister, esteemed participant. On behalf of Turkey, I greet you all with my respect. First of all, I would like to congratulate Azerbaijan for hosting this important meeting within the scope of COP29, which focuses on the role of cities in combating climate change. This meeting, which brings together ministers of climate and urbanism, offers an important opportunity to enhance cooperation at the local and national levels in line with the Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals. In this context, Turkey has determined its policies to combat climate change with its National Climate Change Action Plan and its national determined contribution. These policies include important targets in each area as energy efficiency, renewable energy, sustainable transportation, and waste management. Our country's urbanization policy includes affordable and adequate housing for all and resilient cities. To this end, our country has constructed 1.5 million houses through public administration by Turkey. Our country has faced many floods and disasters due to climate change, as did the rest of the world. We have created new settlement areas in the disaster-affected cities in order to recover the damage, and our efforts continue to make our cities more resilient as part of climate change adaptation. As a country, we are struggling not only with disasters such as climate change, but also with disasters such as earthquakes. As is known, nearly 800,000 houses were damaged in the earthquake that occurred last year, February 6. We are rapidly carrying out the construction of 500,000 houses in the earthquake-affected areas. I would like to take this opportunity to once again express my gratitude to the countries that stood by us after the earthquake. With smart city application, we are making people's lives easier and increasing energy efficiency. In addition, we are building public gardens in all our cities on an area of 81 million square meters to reduce our carbon emission. As I conclude my remarks, I hope this event hosted by our brotherly country of dear Azerbaijan will reveal the strength of cities in combating climate change, and it will be an inspiration to the whole world. I wish all of you success. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are now coming towards the conclusion of our event, but before we conclude, I'd like to give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Nigar Apadarai, the UN High-Level Champion for COP29, to deliver some brief reflections. Ms. Apadarai, you have the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it's a great honor to be part of this ministerial meeting on urbanization and climate change. Excellencies, governors, esteemed delegates, colleagues and friends, our civilization is very much built around cities. The creative potential of humans is concentrated in them. This is where the talents are flocking and working most of the history. But cities are also the source of major challenges. How do we create an urban environment which has the advantages of collective living, including common hard and soft infrastructure, public services and amenities, but does not suffer from overcrowdedness and pollution? It is a well-established fact that cities produce so much heat, emissions and pollution that they are usually much warmer than surroundings at the expense of heating, cars, air conditioning and other factors. Cities are major polluters, but we cannot exist and prosper without them, as they are the beating hearts of our societies. And cities also have huge legacies. Almost always, buildings and infrastructure were built at different stages of history and in different circumstances when the green agenda was not on the table. Therefore, cities face the huge and extremely complex task to rearrange them in a new way, to make them more green. By changing the transport arteries of cities and ways buildings are maintained and supplied, by educating citizens to emit and pollute less through new behavior and consumption patterns. It is mind-blowing when you understand that relatively small territories with sometimes tens of millions of people packed together are acting as one organism, and one needs to adjust it without destroying it. But the benefits of green cities are so big that it's definitely worth it. There are no places on earth where the green agenda affects the quality of life and of residents more positively than in cities. Cleaner air, better and more convenient public transport, less congestion, more online services and many more benefits come with turning cities smart and green. And this is why our meeting today is extremely important. Cities are the best platform where the advantage of green transition for people is obvious and easy to prove. Around the world, our cities and regions are already taking action. Medellin in Colombia is creating green corridors to tackle urban heat. Sevi in Togo has introduced subsidies to help households adopt solar energies. There are many examples like that. These leaders are paving the way for ambitious climate action, proving that bold steps are not only possible, but also profitable and popular. Collaboration between national and subnational governments is essential to bridge the gap between climate commitments and real impactful implementation. COP28 was a step forward, putting a multi-level action firmly on agenda. The COP29 Multisectoral Action Partnership for Sustainable, Climate Resilient and Healthy Cities will support COP2COP continuity across multi-level governance initiatives and continue to amplify the role cities, states and regions are playing in reaching national level targets for both reducing emissions and adapting to the reality of climate change. MAP brings together health and cities for the first time, fosters nature-positive urban development. As national governments prepare to develop their NDCs, governments need to engage with subnational leaders and seize the opportunity to bolster city-level climate policy, the opportunity to unlock private finance through clear regulatory networks, and the opportunity to establish a vision for climate action grounded in locally led solutions. Scaling up actions in cities and regions is essential. We therefore urge you, each of you here today, to actively collaborate through multi-level action. Take today's discussions to heart and work together under existing mechanisms to create the enabling environment needed to keep the Paris Agreement and our future within reach. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would now like to invite His Excellency Mr. Yalchin Rafiev, the COP29 lead negotiator, Deputy Foreign Minister, Republic of Azerbaijan. Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Cecilia. Dear colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, let me start by thanking all of you for your active participation and significant contribution to this important event. As we come to the conclusion of this remarkable gathering, I am filled both with a sense of urgency and deep appreciation for the work done here at COP29. The discussions we have had today are not just an exchange of ideas. They represent the foundation for future urban climate action. Today we heard about the work being done by multiple government, city and parliament representatives from different countries and by stakeholders from MDBs, the private sector and other important international organizations. Cities are central to our shared responsibility to tackle the climate crisis, and here we have outlined a collective vision that recognizes both the challenges and the transformative opportunities cities present. At the heart of our discussions today is a multisectoral action pathways, a MAP declaration for resilient and healthy cities. This declaration is a critical step forward in recognizing the importance of collaborative action across different sectors and levels of government. Today, we create an important global legacy of COP29. We established the Baku Continuity Coalition on urban, multisectoral and multi-level climate action. And all parties and non-party stakeholders can support this important continuity initiative through the MAP declaration. The discussions we have had today also lay the groundwork for the work ahead, including the 4 thematic roundtables that will take place later today. These roundtables will provide a focused platform for deepening our conversations on critical topics such as green construction, urban transport, climate resilience, agriculture, and nature-based solutions in cities, and urban climate finance. These sessions will help translate our collective commitments into actionable strategies. As we move forward, the role of cities in addressing climate change will remain critical. To achieve our global climate goals, we must continue to strengthen collaboration across all levels of government, ensure that urban issues are integrated into broader climate strategies, and equip cities with the resources and support they need to drive effective action. Only through continued partnership and innovation showcased here today, we can pave a pathway to resilient and healthy cities. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, thank you for your participation. Today's discussions have set a clear direction towards urban resilience, collaboration, and transformative climate action. And I invite you to continue joining to the roundtables that will be held all day today. Let us make these commitments forward on the road to COP30. At this point, I'd just like to invite the mayors that are signing the agreement, the declaration, to come up here and just do the signing ceremony as others, leave the room to make space for the next meeting. So if I could invite all those that are involved in the signing ceremony to come up, and others may vacate the room as we do take this action. Thank you.